this year.
Oh, that shut up everyone real quick.
Yeah.
Morning, Bob.
Good morning.
I'm looking forward to this, our speakers today.
Oh, yes, yes.
My biggest question I'm going to say now, how do you deal today in a political conversation with the truth? Is it the truth? Is one of our axioms. I mean, I'm not trying to set a political tone, but when we're dealing with blatancy, non-truths, how do you combat that in a conversation? So I'm looking forward to they will shed light on that, I would guess.
I hope so.
I would think so.
I have a slide for that.
There we go.
Oh, there's our speaker.
All right,
Thanks for
why don't we
doing
get started this morning, folks? Brock, if you want to mute everyone but me, or I can unmute myself.
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone, and then if you want to unmute yourself, and we'll get started.
All right, good morning, City Lakes Rotary. Good to see you all. Let us start with the Pledge of Allegiance this morning. I'm waiting for the slide. There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. In the things we think, say, and do, 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right, our reflection today is Terrell Brum. Terrell, good to see you this morning.
Good to see you. So on Monday, we observed Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a federal holiday celebrating the birthday and life of civil rights leader and global icon, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The holiday is observed as a day of service intended to empower individuals, strengthen communities, and create solutions to social challenges, moving us closer to the Nobel Peace Prize winner's unparalleled commitment to racial justice and his vision of a beloved community. Dr. King said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? In Rotary, this question is often at the forefront of our minds. Every day we focus on delivering on our unwavering commitment to make a positive and lifelong difference in the futures of people in our community and across the world. As Rotary members, we recognize the fundamental importance of our essential role in bringing positive change for others by demonstrating service and leadership through community-based volunteer opportunities and service projects. I want to personally thank the City of Lakes Rotary for your commitment to youth organizations and the generosity shared with the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Twin Cities during the holidays. So in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, I will close with words from a sermon delivered in Atlanta only a few weeks before his assassination in the spring of 1968. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. He told the congregation, you don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love, and you can be that servant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terrell. Great message for Rotarians. I appreciate it. All right, Dean Sandberg, you have the song today, and you're going to have us all sing along with you. Is that how I understand we're going to do this?
Yeah, so let's all unmute. And I put in the chat, again, in honor of Martin Luther King holiday, song America, also known as My Country 'Tis of Thee. So let's just sing the first verse of that, all right? So I'll lead us off. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my Father's
Father's
side,
side,
land of the children's pride,
pride,
from every
mountain
side,
let
freedom ring. Hey, it worked. It's kind of a rhyme, wasn't it?
It was
better
kind
not
of
quit our
around.
day
I,
jobs.
you know what? I thought it was gonna be worse than that, Dean. So
Oh, no, thanks a lot.
thank you, Dean. All right, Brock, do we have any guests or visiting Rotarians with us this morning?
Oh, let's see. I'm not sure I saw any names that I didn't recognize looking through the list here. But if I'm missing anyone, if there are any guests, please feel free to unmute yourself now. And we have Misha Hartke. Misha, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm Misha Hartke. I'm here as I've been to this Rotary Club before. I'm a friend of Lisa Moncrief's, and attended a couple of your agendas, which have been always awesome.
Honey?
I'm sorry?
No. Go ahead. I'm muting people.
Oh.
Yes.
And I'm
Brock, I think we lost Misha there.
That's it.
She became muted.
there we
There you
go.
are.
There we go.
Muted us all.
I was too quick on the draw.
Yeah. I was facilitating the connection between Braver Angels, which I believe someone is here today to present, and this Rotary Club, because I feel, strongly that they're a fantastic organization. I was happy that you guys accepted their request to introduce themselves. So thanks for having me, and nice to be here.
Thanks, Misha.
Great, Misha, welcome. Thanks for being with us. Are you actually, is that your real background? It looks fabulous if it is.
Well, in my dreams.
All right.
I
Very
think we made
good.
it.
Well, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Any other guests, Brock? Looks like Misha is our guest today.
That's right. I'm not seeing anybody else, but if there is anyone, please feel free to unmute yourself and introduce yourself to us. All right. I think that counts.
Great, thank you. Well, announcements, Brock, I know you have an announcement today.
I do have a quick announcement. Obviously we're all Zoom this morning, but we are hoping to be back at the Women's Club for hybrid, possibly as soon as next week, and certainly moving forward there. And as such, there's a need for people who might want to join the AV Club. If you've ever wanted to learn how to plug cords from one end of a soundboard into another end of something else, come and join us. We've got great instructions, very well documented processes. If I can do it, you can do it. And so we're putting together just a handful of people who would be willing to take on 1 week a month of running that computer board, or being our room spotlight, as you see Ross do each week. So if you've got any interest in that, please shoot me an email, give me a shout out, and we'll arrange a training session.
Brock,
Yes,
remember
sir.
that Greg Holm wants to be a part of that.
Perfect. I'll reach out to him.
Great, thank you, Brock. Chris Morris, did you want to talk a little bit about what we have coming up with the interviews, in the interview process? And I hear it's going to go all virtual.
Yes, I would. Thank you, Scott. So for the vocational committee, we're once again coordinating this year mock interviews at Dunwoody. And these are, for those newer members who haven't participated before, these are interviews with first and second year students primarily. So 18, 19-year-olds who are looking for internships and jobs and haven't interviewed for jobs before. So they just meet with us for maybe 15 minutes and we act like we're interviewing for a job. They're very appreciative and it's a very fun activity. The date is February 2nd at 4:30. It's 4:30 to 6. We had planned on doing it there at Dunwoody this year, but the decision has been made to go virtual. So what we need, if any of you are interested in participating, I just need your email and then we'll send you the appropriate link so that you can log on at the time. And hopefully the upside is that some of you who are out of town, for the winter on vacation might be able to participate. So I'll throw that into the chat box, but please let me know if you're interested. Thanks, Scott.
Great, thank you, Chris. Maria Bavender, you had noted that the Tri-District Conference has been canceled. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Julie Grape just let me know this morning that it's being canceled and or postponed, probably due to the COVID numbers. It was going to be such a big thing. And we were thinking about trying to do a table regarding the Rotary Community Corps to try to interest a lot of other clubs in that process, but looks like we're going to have to wait. So if you had it on your calendar for mid-April, you can go ahead and take it off at this point.
All right, thank you, Maria. I have a couple of announcements. Book club, we're getting moving again with book club. We will meet February 15th on Zoom at 5 o'clock, and the book we're reading is Cloud Cuckoo Land. Don't let that title put you off that book. I've started reading it, it's fantastic. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a New York Times bestseller. So Cloud Cuckoo Land, February 15th, 5 o'clock. I will get that on our Rotary calendar. Next week, we're still deciding for sure, but it looks like we will do a hybrid meeting next week. The Mayor Fry is our speaker next week. His office tells us that he is willing to and would like to be with us at the Women's Club for a hybrid meeting. So at this point, that is what we will plan on. But as always, we are keeping our eye on COVID rates and what is happening in Minneapolis. We're also going to remind you that Minneapolis has a mask mandate. So when we come back to the Women's Club, if we do next week, don't forget your masks. And I have a note into the Women's Club to see if they're subject to the requirement of checking vaccinations. I don't think they are, but I have a note into them to find out if they're part of that or not. All right, are there any other announcements? And I have Anna Prisakari coming next to give us a vocational update, but any other announcements that I've missed? All right, seeing none. Anna, vocational, oh, well, I do have one other update. There is a vocational committee meeting right after this, right after our club meeting today at 8:30. But Anna, you have vocational update for us.
I do. Good morning, everyone. About a week or 2 weeks ago, I sent out an email to share any updates that are happening in your professional, personal lives. And I've received quite a few, so I would like to share them with you. And they're all different. So that's kind of very exciting that different things happen to our wonderful members. So the first announcement came from Dean, and Dean is expanding his coaching and peer group facilitating practice by forming a new Vistage Trusted Advisor peer group, and soon to be second Vistage CEO and business owner peer advisory group. The Trusted Advisor Group formation was inspired by our own Rotary peer group, in which many of us participate. And also it is, so there it's a trusted advisors to clients to discuss important topics for personal and professional development. So congratulations, Dean. Kelly, congratulations to moving to a new office space in downtown Minneapolis. I hear it's very, very beautiful and you're very excited to be there. I would love to see some pictures of that. Stephen Radke shared that he's working 2 days a week for Homeline Minnesota nonprofit, which provides renters with advice. And he's also volunteering for Volunteer Lawyers Network, which represents low-income persons. Mary Pat had an announcement to share saying that Jim Voss introduced her to Trevor Bullen from Dunwoody, and they have been making progress and plans for partnerships to bring students from Fair to Dunwoody to participate in interactive experiences to promote college and career pathways. I love this. Grant, on December 1st of last year, he had a commentary published in Minneapolis Star Tribune on impaired waters. He wrote a letter to the editor, but they graciously made it into commentary. If anyone has a link to share, I would love to read that. Carol, her firm with Russell Herder is celebrating their 38th anniversary. They celebrated on January 1st. So, wow, this is amazing. 38 years. Same two partners, a highly creative and strategic team, and outstanding clients. She's loving it more than ever. Congratulations, Carol. Ross Naylor shared that Russ and Sangram are working together on a very large and exciting project for an Alliance client in the Metro. Wonderful, congratulations, partnerships. I was also informed that one of our members, Tori Allen, I haven't seen him in a while, but he was recently awarded the Twin Cities Business Top 100. So very, very big award for one of our members. And lastly, I wanted to share with you that about several months ago, I switched my careers in the same industry, but different companies. So I switched from Honeywell and now I am at Amazon. And that is all of the announcements that we received from this group. If I missed anything, please let me know. I'll be happy to share them in the next meeting. And congratulations to everyone.
That's great. Thank you, Anna. And yes, congratulations to everyone. Thank you for sharing all those with us. We do appreciate hearing where everyone is at. As I said, the vocational committee will meet on this Zoom line immediately after this meeting. So if you'd like to join the good folks in the vocational committee, please do that. All right, I have the pleasure of introducing our day chair today, Jim Nelson, who most of you probably know is our day chair. He joined City of Lakes Rotary in 1999 and served as club president from 2009 to 2010 and as our district governor for Rotary District 5950 from 2014 to 2015. Jim's vocational classification is real estate law. He retired from Briggs & Morgan in 2015 after 43 years of practicing law, specializing in commercial real estate law. For the last 6 years, Jim's vocation has been volunteer work, District 5950 Rotary Foundation Chair and Fundraising Chair, City of Lakes International Service Committee, and his focus there has been on the Honduras Wash Project, and volunteering at Historic Port Snelling and the Minnesota Historical Society, and service on the Edina Human Rights and Relations Commission, which he chaired for 3 years, and recently joined the board of the Edina Community Foundation. Jim likes to cook, as I think we saw based on his dishes that he did last year when we had that cooking program. He cooks mainly because it's his creative outlet, and any other creative talent, Jim says, is beyond him. His zeal for cooking far exceeds his skill, so he says, but he hasn't killed anyone yet, which is a point in his favor. Rotary has been the best thing that ever happened to Jim, except of course for his family, which presently consists of his wife Ellen, 3 children, and 6 grandchildren. Rotary has introduced Jim to wonderful friends in our community and around the world, and has taken him to every continent except Antarctica, which as far as we know, doesn't have a Rotary Club, at least not yet. So Jim, thank you for being our day chair this morning.
Thank you, Scott. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, it's my honor today to introduce actually 2 fellow Rotarians as our speakers, Richard DeBeau and Bruce Morlan. Richard and Bruce are members of a really wonderful Rotary Club down in Northfield. The Northfield Rotary Club is really a superstar club when it comes to Rotary Youth Exchange. they're far and away, I'd say, the best club in the two districts in terms of their participation in youth exchange. They're also very heavily involved in environmental advocacy and many other activities. I could go on about the club, but today's presentation doesn't actually involve the Rotary Club. It involves an organization known as Braver Angels. So let me introduce Richard and Bruce. Richard DeBeau is a retired family therapist, clinical social worker, and drug and alcohol counselor. He also had a private practice, mostly focused on families, and was a co-therapist in LGBT psychotherapy practice. Richard served as chair of the Northfield Human Rights Commission for 2 years, among his many other volunteer activity, and he has been involved in Braver Angels for about 3 years. Richard has also been a Rotarian for about 3 years and active in many areas of his club's activities. One of Rotary's areas of focus, as you all probably know, is peace and conflict resolution. And Richard has an investment in the political and cultural health of our society, and with special concern about the polarization among citizens in our national community. Bruce Morlan is a twice retired mathematician. We'll see if his comments add up. Who, as a Rotarian, is now active in Braver Angels and Citizens Climate Lobby. In each organization, he's a part of the Conservative Caucus, speaking with a conservative voice. His activism has helped him stay engaged in understanding and explaining our political divide. And he enjoys talking with all sides to help bridge our divide. Bruce currently serves on 2 planning commissions and on the Northfield Human Rights Commission. Before retiring, Bruce was a mathematician with the United States Air Force for 20 years, and then a mathematician statistician at the Mayo Clinic for another 12 years. So please join me in giving Richard and Bruce a warm City of Lakes welcome.
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to share my screen and we'll see if we can make this work. Richard and I are absolutely happy to be here. This is like an opportunity that I've been doing this for about 2 years, 3 years now. Ed Merrick, former district governor, and I did a lot of speaking on Braver Angels. So today we're going to talk about how we can collaborate to bridge the divide. We're going to explore peace and reconciliation through Braver Angels, City of Lake Rotary Club. That's you guys. And as a footnote, when I was in the Air Force, I was doing strategic deterrence analysis, amongst other things. So I've always been kind of involved in reconciliation. Question is, where are we now? How do we get here? And what can we do about it? And if everybody's screaming, who's listening? You've heard who we are, so I will proceed from here. So where are we? Well, we need to navigate figure out where we're at. We need to take sightings on what's going on. And in 1999, we were a little divided. This chart shows the median Democrat and median Republican being similar. But by 2017, we've become very divided. In fact, even in 2016, Democrats thought 86% of Democrats agreed with the statement that Republicans are very unfavorable. And I think that's probably using gentle language. And the Republicans were the same way. 91% agreed that Democrats are very unfavorable. And politics has replaced religion as the #1 barrier to acceptance by a family of a proposed partner. So if you bring your spouse, your fiance home, they better be in the right political party. We don't care about the religion anymore. And those of us who grew up in the 50s and 60s know that that's a big swing. And all of this is before 2016, which, by the way, in 2016, I was chair of the Republican Party in Rice County. So I was very active then. Congress is similarly divided. Here's Congress in 61, some overlap, some ability to talk to each other, and some worked very hard. I'm thinking here of Tip O'Neill to cross the aisle. And by 2011, it looks like this, complete division. And it has to do with the way they changed the way they do business in Washington. So how did we get here? Somebody asked earlier, is it the truth? Well, that's a very good question. This first line of the four-way test, is it the truth? But facts are subjective, and particularly when you're in political speak, and our political dialogue, our political clicking limits our ability to bridge that gap, because you get into whose facts and whose truth. And as a scientist and a mathematician, I have to tell you that in science, at least, facts are probabilities, which always means there's a little room for hedging, if you will. So some drivers, what's driving our discord is things like our hyperpartisan tribalism. It's you know, the next election begins the day of the last election because we have these huge political industrial complexes that make money off of the division and off of trying to sell us ideas. We have a 365, 24/7 mainstream media. And on top of that, we have social media. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. And we tend to focus on the differences, like as in our identities, instead of our common interests, shared values, and goals. And this is where groups like Rotary can help, because we have common interests, shared values, and goals, and we can push back. Some of the drivers include the way we talk about things. All of these words mean different things, and some of these words are like fingernails on a blackboard, but we hear differently because of where we're standing. Your echo chamber, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more, provides your dictionary for understanding what these words mean. So if you're in one party, these words mean a lot different to you than if you're in the other party. Places, one of the things we've been seeing is a lot of effort to try and bridge the divide, and Braver Angels is the one we're going to talk about, but other things like All Sides or journals like The Week all attempt to present both sides of the story, but you've got to be seeking that. It doesn't come to you cheaply. So how do we get from 61 to today? Well, the big sword is an idea that says we like to hang out with people that are like us. So, you know, you hang out in your neighborhood. It used to be you hung out at your church, your bowling alley, social organizations. And the problem with that is like attracts like, but then we end up only talking to people like us. So we become more and more isolating. And the desire when we get into a group to prove that we belong there, we do what's called virtue signaling by emphasizing how we belong in the group. And the example I like to use is a bicycle club that I went to, that the first 10 minutes of the social interactions was people bragging about how they rode their bikes to Minneapolis in the winter. And the guy that won that conversation that day was the guy that used some Russian helicopter parts to make his bicycle. So we have to do it to prove we belong. We have to do it to emphasize how we are different from everybody else. And how does all this work? Well, I'm going to show you the echo chamber effect. And what this is, all the blue dots represent people. And the 3 dimensions, you can see I've got a vertical, a horizontal to the X, Y, Z. And the position of the dot kind of represents the person's position on those 3 issues. And what you're going to see happen is they're going to talk to each other, but they're going to be divided by politics. And the political party is going to make hay. Oops, sorry. Okay, let me try again. So watch as these people talk to each other. They kind of come to agreement, but then the politics step in and they drive themselves apart. And you'll notice that they're not talking to each other and they're not getting more expansive. They're getting very focused on the solutions that they like. So how do we get here? I've got a stormy ocean and a poor little sailboat, which I've been there. We got there through the things I talked about, but we have added social media, which has weaponized the echo chambers. And in particular, the social media dilemma, the social dilemma is on Netflix, if you can find it, if it's still there, but it describes this addictive accelerator for the dynamics. And it allows us to isolate. I mean, you can go on a Facebook site that's dedicated to the particular sailboat that I have, and that's all they talk about. Very isolating in that sense. And it uses our own brain chemistry, the same chemistry that makes us like drugs and other things that we like to do for pleasure. It uses that chemistry. And it uses deep AI, which I used to do research in, to find 20 million of our closest friends who then think like us and post memes that will grab our attention. So what's the hook? What's the needle that delivers this drug? It's the like button. Because when you post something, if people like it, you get a little ping on your phone, tells you that they've liked it. Or if you Twitter something and they like it there with the little heart symbol, all of those are examples of positive feedback loops that drive you down this path. It's not just politics. It turns out that women and girls, young girls, when the like button became available, they got hooked on it. And since the approximate time of the social media becoming available on mobile phones, we've seen an increase in the rates of suicide amongst young girls and young women. And that is a clear signal, according to Jonathan Haidt, that the like option has changed the way we talk. So what happened in 2016? Everybody knows the Electoral College went from a kind of a balance to a sudden surprising imbalance in a direction that nobody expected. Everybody was caught off guard. The Republicans, the Democrats were amazed. The political pundits went nuts. And it's because, as the elephant shows, depending on what you're looking at, depending on how you look at that elephant, you conclude different things about it. So I like Hillbilly Elegy as an example of a book that talks to this. I like The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, who talks about how politics can divide us. And I like Citizens Climate Lobby, where I work. I was chair of the Conservative Caucus, and we struggle to maintain a balance because we know that if we're going to solve problems, we have to have everybody in the game. So Richard, you want to talk a little bit about Braver Angels?
Okay. Well, thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, fellow Rotarians, for inviting us to join you this morning. It's a topic that I consider critical. During my career as a family therapist, I received a lot of referrals from court services agencies for adolescents who were oftentimes drug abusing, sometimes addicted, and acting out. And one of the things that I learned is that you can't address and solve these issues quickly. That the thing that was common with most of the families with whom I worked was fear. And fear can generate alienation. And I think the same thing is happening in our culture currently. I think, and that is an issue I think that we need to really pay attention to. So as Bruce mentioned a bit ago, Jonathan Haidt is an author. If you're not familiar with Jonathan Haidt's book, The Righteous Mind, I would encourage you to read it, familiarize yourself with it. It's one of my favorite works in terms of understanding how to bring us back together. Dr. Haidt says that there are 6 variables that are priorities for almost all of us: caring, fairness, liberty, loyalty, authority, and purity. And if you asked almost everyone, are those values that you have? Almost everyone would say certainly. But what Dr. Haidt points out is that different people prioritize those values differently, and that can lead to misunderstandings and disagreements, and how we move through that is really, really critical. The other piece, as I was eavesdropping, waiting for this meeting to start, and there was an expectation that we might be able to say or do something that would help you to deal with the animosity that exists within our culture. I believe that we can be helpful. And I would say the critical element is time. When we're afraid, when we're anxious, we move too quickly. We have an expectation of a quick resolution, and that can enhance disagreement. So that's my general orientation here. And Bruce, my friend Bruce, is trying to keep up with slides, and I don't know if I'm doing the narrative that jives with the slides, but anyway, yeah, I like that one, Bruce. I can identify with that one. So Braver Angels was started in 2016, I believe. Bill Doherty, who is a theorist and a faculty member at the Family Social Science program at the University of Minnesota, where I went to school, and two other family therapists or theorists decided that they wanted to try to do something about this animosity and division. So they pulled together a group of 10 Clinton and 10 Trump supporters for a weekend of workshops, and through a series of exercises and practices, these people discovered that they had a lot more in common than they thought they did. And in fact, after the end of the weekend, they had some affection and support and friendship for each other. So this was the model upon which Braver Angels was developed, and Braver Angels was named. Well, the first name was Better Angels, which was from Lincoln's inaugural address, where he asked the nation to focus on the better angels of ourselves in order to bring ourselves together. And so that was our initial name. But because we ran into some issues with someone else that had already been a Better Angels, had already had that name, we switched it to Braver Angels, which I like more than Better Angels anyway. But anyway, it was a national movement. We got support from public broadcasting system, from ABC, from NBC. People heard about us and heard about the work, the success of the work, and they asked us to begin, would we come to their communities? We being the organization at the time. I wasn't involved at that point, but I have been involved for about 3 years. So right after that, and people were taken with and attracted to the work that was done. They learned from these exercises, and I've been involved in a number of them over the last couple of years, and I am always impressed by people who will, after a 3-hour workshop, will say, wow, I learned so much in how to connect with someone with whom I anticipated having disagreement, and how much we discovered that we had in common, and how we were able to move forward in a friendly fashion. So Bruce and I are also, as you know, Rotarians, and we are attracted to the idea of presenting Braver Angels to Rotary clubs, because Rotarians are problem solvers, and we're interested in international understanding and goodwill with each other, and peace, and also obviously the environment. And so we think this is a natural partnership to pursue, and why we're so happy to do the sort of thing that we're doing today. So again, the 4-way test that is paramount, I think, within this construct of issues that we have. Is it the truth? How do we get at what is the truth? What's the process? As Bruce said earlier, it's a multifaceted. Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill? which is what we want, and sustain it and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? So as a Rotarian, I am dedicated to these principles.
Can I throw in something real quick, Richard?
Go for it.
When Bill Doherty first started Braver Angels, Better Angels, he was working with Rotary clubs, and he used to comment that Braver Angels was in the Rotary DNA, and he would point to our 4-way test as a way of proving that. So I decided to throw in a little personal note on that. I remember hearing him say that. So, all right, Richard.
All right, thank you for that. Well, yeah, of course, as a family therapist, I think that the connection between Rotary and Braver Angels and the principles where Dr. Doherty ascribes are near and dear to me as well. So the mission of Braver Angels then is to depolarize and unify, and we all want that. We all want to find ways to increase the unification and reduce polarization and conflict. And Bruce, you generated this wonderful slide, so I'm gonna invite you to demonstrate it.
Sure. The problem we have is our political parties and their operatives. Can everybody hear me clearly? I'm hearing a lot of noise. Am I okay? Yeah? Okay. Anyway, our political parties and their operatives want us to think in terms of the other side as being our enemies. They want us to hate them. They want us to disdain them at best. And it's not enough to move us to the point where we pity them for their ignorance. We have to actually recognize that they have a lot to contribute. I drew a political cartoon once and I said, it doesn't do any good to silence the other side because their concerns may still be valid. And if you just won't listen to them, it's not a good thing. So Braver Angels as an organization offers skills training workshops, and I'm going to talk about some other stuff. The workshops, they've had over 1,000 total workshops in almost every state with thousands of participants. And the Citizens Climate Lobby has a Braver Angels action team, and we have presented probably 20 seminars of 3 or 4 hours each to bring Braver Angels into Citizens Climate Lobby because we're trying to be nonpartisan. The skills training includes skills for bridging the divide, which is exactly what it says. We also have depolarizing within, and they have a skills for family and politics, which is very handy every year around Thanksgiving, you know, when Uncle Fred is going to get up and pontificate. You got to be able to bridge the divide with them. The workshops, they have the red-blue workshops, the common ground, and race conversations are 3 of them. The red-blue is just what it says. They bring together a balanced room of reds and blues. And it's very important that they focus on balance, because if you have an imbalance, and my experience in Citizens Climate Lobby points how important the balance is. If you have an imbalance, it becomes an echo chamber and you end up silencing a lot of people because they just get too nervous about speaking. The common ground is fun because that's more issue oriented. Let's see if we can find common ground around poverty or common ground around climate or whatever. So they run those as workshops. And then the race conversations is a very difficult one, but it's very valuable. And in this week of Martin Luther King, it's important to remember that we have to be able to have the conversations, and too often we can't have the conversation because it becomes too much finger pointing and not enough understanding. So we also offer a thing called the Community Collaboration Network. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about those because that's where we're looking. They're looking for civic organizations, churches, and universities or colleges to participate in community collaborations and their community collaborations network. And they will provide training, and all you have to do is provide the bodies to do the work. And they'll provide all the other stuff that you need and help you reach out into your community as a exemplar of good political discussion and good working together. And I think that Rotary, I've been trying to get Rotary involved in this. Unfortunately, one of the criteria is you have to have a kind of a balanced club, and my club is not very well balanced. So I'm looking for other clubs. They're looking for clubs. And if anybody's interested in that, I'd encourage you to contact me afterwards. What they're going to do is they're going to introduce members to Braver Angels, because like this, you have to understand what Braver Angels is. Then we're going to connect, in the Rotary case, we'll be connecting our values and mission to the Braver Angels approach. So we would be using the terminology that would speak to Rotarians from years of experience with the four-way tests to help bring and stitch them into and together with the Braver Angels group. You also get to hear about polarization experiences, and you'll talk about ways that the organization, in this case Rotary, might collaborate with Braver Angels. What can we do? What kind of events can we put on? It's an exploratory process, and it's not helped by the fact that I was supposed to speak at the tri-district meeting with Ed Merrick, and now it's been canceled. And I was looking forward to bringing the Braver Angels mission and statement there. So the Braver Angels pledge is that we'll understand, we'll be engaging, and we will build bridges, not trenches. I mean, we're going to go out there and we're going to make sure that we stay connected. So why is this important to Rotarians? That's a natural question. And I love to bring this up because it ties into my other major work, which is Citizens Climate Lobby. I don't know if you remember this, but in the April 2019 issue, they had climate solutions within our reach. And that generated more letters than they'd ever seen and revealed a schism in the Rotary. I mean, some Rotarians were halfway down the freeway of life on climate change, and the others were saying, wait a minute. And they didn't realize that until things like this hit the press. And as a conservative, I was thrilled to see Rotary take on the issue. And as a Rotarian, I was concerned by the responses, because the politics of climate change are very much divisive and the solutions are human. And just like tackling polio, Rotarians are responders. When you hear an alarm bell, you go toward the alarm bell to see what you can do to help. And that's, I think that's the natural part of what we are. Holger Knack, the Rotary International president, said that Rotary is not political and it must stay that way, but when things go obviously wrong, we cannot look away. Those of you who follow the polio campaign know that politics has really gotten in the way of the polio campaign in some countries around the world. It's become a political issue. And Rotarians didn't quit doing the work. It's just they realized it was going to take more than just offering up the help. They're going to have to actually do something hard, do the hard work. And we stand by our values in the four-way test, and we're measured not by only by our results, but by our attitude. So that's the statement of the Rotary International president from then. I guess the next point then is, are there any questions? And I'm going to put the sign-up information into the chat as soon as I can figure out how to do that. But open for questions.
So,
So,
are there
go ahead.
questions?
Yeah, this is Pat Joyce. So great presentation. Appreciate it. You know, when I look at what you're doing, it's fantastic. The thing that my head goes to though is who kind of go back to the source a little bit, because we're all deluged from all parts of the spectrum with, as you said, the echo chamber. But who benefits from that division? Who benefits from the polarization? Because clearly there are entities in our society that do, or it wouldn't be as promoted as much as it is. I'm curious what your thoughts might be on that.
Well, I kind of hinted at it. It's the operatives who go to the political parties, I mean, and tell them how to run their campaigns. And their advice is often very much in the division. I mean, you receive these mailings, you know, that vilify the opposition. That's a money-making scheme. It's a political industrial complex that is focused on making money, not making solutions. And
I would, excuse me,
Yeah.
I would agree with Bruce. I think as I look at what's happening in our culture, it's as I said earlier, it's a reflection of what I experience in families. The tremendous amount of fear and anxiety in our culture as the wealth gap widens and people have less and less opportunity to advance themselves in terms of employment, professional development, and so forth. The anxiety and fear increases, and I think there are people who will exploit that rather than to look for solutions, to look for votes without a platform for solution, and that's my opinion about that.
Yeah, and I guess I'll follow up with it. It seems like there is, if you follow the old follow the money, and you kind of alluded to it from a social media. There's money to be made in social media. There's money to be made in click-throughs, right? And all of those things. And it seems that, and there's big money behind a lot of these campaigns, whether on each side of the spectrum, the Zuckerbergs, the Kochs, the Soroses, et cetera. And doesn't that seem to be a part of the fuel on the fire, so to speak?
Yeah, we didn't talk about it too much, but there's a documentary out there that talks about Cambridge Analytica and how they made money with the Brexit, money off of the Trump election. And it was really surprising because I don't think they realized how effective they were going to be, because a lot of the people that worked on that were no fans of Trump, but they made money off of it. So they became hired guns and fans through the checkbook. And when you go hang out with people who are running for Congress, the first thing you realize is they spend almost all their time trying to figure out how to raise money. Their ability to do any, independent thinking is kind of driven away by their need to respond to the people who bring money to the table.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What leadership do you have in the state government that's supporting Braver Angels? And the reason I ask that is that I actually believe you need to be thinking bolder than what you're doing. I believe that we need to have listening sessions, like 10,000 of them across the state. And so if you don't have governmental support here, if you don't have Walls or Flanagan behind you on this and like really pushing this, do you think it's going to make any difference?
I absolutely agree with you, and that's why we're here this morning.
Yeah, we're trying to get those 10,000 meetings going, one Rotary Club at a time.
I know, but we're running out of time.
I hear you on that. I can tell you
this grassroots work, which I applaud you for, by the way. I don't want to come off as sounding negative. By the way, it's Ellie Krug, and I do a lot of work on diversity and inclusion across the state. I don't want to sound negative. I applaud you for what you're doing, but this is just not enough. And without the state, like literally, Walls coming out and saying we're going to have 10,000 meetings across the state of Minnesota. I just don't think
I would welcome your help with this, because I've been trying to figure out, we know that Representative Stauber and I think Representative Phillips did do a Braver Angels style town hall. And I would love to see, I don't know who can manage that, but I would love to see more politicians doing what those two did. Because I think that's an important signal to their constituents that they may be on opposite sides of the aisle, but they're on the same side for the people, trying to, work to make for a better nation.
And Bruce, I agree with you. It's just, we're just running out of time.
We are.
There's a clock over our head. It's not like we've got like 10 years to get this figured out. We don't.
No,
and,
if you read about the coming civil war in the Atlantic, there are a lot of people that are very nervous about our politics.
Yeah.
Much more nervous than than they are about anything else. And it's difficult because there are some strong forces fighting against us. So I invite you to join us, join Braver Angels, and then turn to your political parties and make them pay attention. But it's hard because the political parties at the grassroots level are all about getting out the vote, raising money, and that's about all they care about. They don't care about trying to come up with solutions that can cross the bridge, that can bridge that divide.
It seems to me, I'm going to jump in here, that we reached, the breach is so wide. Like many, I saw highlights from the Trump rally in Arizona over the weekend where person after person got up and to the applause of thousands of people and really unobliteratedly just lied and with no sense for having any caring for the truth. And again, I'm not a radical left person, but I've never, and don't believe the insurrection. What happened? That was just a gathering. How do you deal with that? What I mentioned earlier, and I have many. I mean, I care a lot about our country, and millions do, but we're just in this morass, and it's going farther. I just don't know what to do.
The first step is to get to know somebody from the other side. And as a surrogate for that, I once told my very liberal coffee group, who were spending all their time thrashing the Trump supporters and thrashing Trump. And I finally said, I have to tell you that my brother, who is a veteran of the Navy, a great family man who worked with the Boy Scouts, great volunteer Scouts, a president of his local Lions Club, and is one of the smartest people you could ever get to know, was listening to similar conversation around my campfire one time, everybody thrashing Trump. And he finally just stood up and said, I just want you to know that I am proud to tell you that I would have crossed over broken glass into a burning building to vote for Donald Trump. And we then started talking about insignificant stuff like football and things like that, because he was just tired of being thrashed indirectly, and they just did not recognize even that he was in the room because he was too quiet, because it was an echo chamber. But we have to get to understand that the people that, there's a thing in logic called a straw man. And what a straw man is, you take the worst features of your opponent and you make a straw effigy of them, and then you attack that straw man. And we do that so often in our politics. So we have to start crossing the aisle. And Braver Angels does cross the aisle. It has a couple of things where they require equal numbers of reds and blues. And that is an important attribute. So anyway, all I can say is
I'd like to add another element to that, Bruce, and that is what Braver Angels practices is curiosity rather than making judgments, rather than alienation. Be curious and listen actively. That's one of the things that we've become so poor at in our culture, is actually listening to what people say. We're so good at just waiting for them to shut up so we can put in our 2 cents worth. And it's a rare thing. You want to build a friendship with someone, ask them 3 or 4 questions about what it is that they just said, and express some sense of valuing their opinion. We don't do enough of that, and that's key to making any progress.
Rob Scarlett, I'm going to give you the last question here.
Okay, real quick. Actually, it's an applaud. I sat in on a Braver Angels session this past Saturday, and the big takeaway, following up what you just said, you two, was the curiosity part. Is just being willing to listen, to ask questions. You don't make judgments, just listen and ask questions. To me, that was a huge takeaway from Saturday's Braver Angel session, and I hope we can work with that within Rotary to help train ourselves to ask questions.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce and Richard, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate you appearing here all the way from Northfield. It's great to see you both today, and thank you all for your good questions as well. So again, next week, we have Mayor Jacob Fry, our mayor of the city of Minneapolis, newly elected, who will talk about his hopes and plans for his term for the next few years, next 4 years as mayor of Minneapolis. I want to thank Terrell for the reflection today. Jim Nelson, thank you for being our day chair. Dean Sandberg, thank you for the song. And of course, Brock, thank you so much for being our Zoom master. I'll look forward to seeing you all in a hybrid meeting. At least this far, we're talking about having a hybrid meeting next week on the 26th. Until then, have a great Rotary week. Oh, and one more thing. The vocational meeting is not on this Zoom channel. Gail put the link in the chat. So click on that link if you're on the vocational committee and go there. Don't stay here. Sorry, your president needs to know more about what's going on. But the vocational committee meeting is on a different link. It's in the chat. Gail Noakes put it in there. Beyond that, have a great Rotary week. Thank you. Good to see you all today.